The Three Little Man-Children. Hello kids, Grandma Phyllis here, and I'm here to tell you one of my favorite bedtime stories of all time. So get nestled in, it's gonna be a good story. Once upon a time, there were three little man-children, the Weeaboo, the Furry, and the Brony. They all lived together in harmony in their mother's basement, but one day their mother told them, "You need to get out. For God's sake, you're all 37 years old and living in my basement." So they concluded that they have to build their own houses. The Weeaboo made his house out of waifu, the Furry made his house out of fursuits, and the Brony made his house out of the hundreds of ponies that he owned. As the Weeaboo walked into his house and began to unpack his things, he heard a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw the big, bad Hater. He had heard that the Hater roamed around in these parts, but he didn't believe it to be true. Terrified, the Weeaboo slammed the door and ran and hid behind Inuyasha. Little man-child, let me in."
"Not by the hair of my little neckbeard."
"Then I'll type, and I'll click, and I'll DDoS your house down." Waifus were flying everywhere. Normally it would be the Weeaboo's wet dream, but he had to run right now so the Hater wouldn't catch him. As the Furry man-child was putting the finishing touches on his house, he heard the screams of the Weeaboo man-child approaching.
"Help! Help! The Hater is after me!"
Terrified, the Weeaboo and the Furry ran into the Furry's fursuit house. They heard the Hater's footsteps approaching. Little man-children, let me in."
"Not by the hair of our little neckbeards."
"Then I'll type, and I'll click, and I'll DDoS your house down." The fursuits tumbled onto the ground in a Yif juice-soaked mess. Terrified, the two little man-children ran to their brother's house. As the Brony man-child put the finishing touches on his pony house, he heard the screams of his siblings approaching.
"Help! The big bad Hater is after us!"
Terrified, the three siblings ran into the Brony man-child's house. Little man-children, let me in."
"Not by the hair of our little neckbeards."
"Then I'll click, and I'll type, and I'll DDoS your house down." Then I'll click, and I'll type, and I'll DDoS your house down. But to no avail. The three siblings looked at each other and decided they needed to use their secret weapons. They each pulled out their phones and opened the web browser and started typing. Furry Yif compilation, Clop, and hentai. They clicked on images, walked outside, and presented their phones to the Hater. The Hater stared in awe for several seconds, then began screaming as his eyeballs literally exploded. He fell on the ground, began having a seizure, then his head exploded.
"We did it, guys!"
And the Hater was never heard from again. The end.